From February's first lap at Daytona to this afternoon's last lap at Homestead Miami Speedway, the Sprint Cup Championship battle has been a wild and crazy trip, an interesting and often unpredictable story. Tonight, it's time to celebrate the long and sometimes strange story of Formula One racing in America, adding an important chapter today. The debut of a spectacular purpose-built racing circuit hosting the next-to-last round of the Battle for the World Driving Championship. It's a major American racing success story. And at the end of this long and fascinating campaign, Wind Tunnel puts the wraps on its 10th season. We're glad you're here to share in the fun.
Hi there, welcome to our final Sunday night get-together of 2012, the year-end edition of Wind Tunnel, the celebration of the Sprint Cup Championship. Tonight we'll be joined by Brad Keselowski, the championship-winning driver, and his car owner, Roger Penske, who's been chasing this achievement now for 21 years. Of course, we're always pleased to welcome Speed Center host Adam Alexander to the party. You've had a long weekend. Thank you for ending it with us. Give me a quick reaction to the weekend festivities at Homestead, Miami.
I think it ended the way it was supposed to. Brad Keselowski has been outstanding throughout the playoffs, top 10s in 8 of the 10 races. He's won a couple of times, and they have looked pressure in the eye and punched right back. They did what they needed to do today, and I think they have earned this championship. Double A says the right guy won. Also joining us live from New Smyrna Beach, Florida, pleasure to welcome Tommy Kendall back to Wind Tunnel. Hey, TK, nice to have you here tonight. Same question. Let's get your quick take on the Sprint Cup finale.
Well, pretty much like Adam said, whoever won this championship deserved it, and Keselowski has been a revelation this year. I mean, each step along the way, he's broadened his repertoire, he's gone into new territory, he's performed exemplary, if he was going to blink, pressure can do two things. It can make you come apart, or it can turn you into a diamond, and Roger Penske's found his new superstar and well-deserved title.
Well, it's not all about NASCAR tonight, of course. A little later, Bob Varsha joins us to celebrate Formula One's return to America, the US Grand Prix outside Austin, Texas, and it was a good one. But we start with the 36th and final Sprint Cup points race of the year, championship showdown. Brad Keselowski went into the final leading by 20 against Jimmy Johnson, seeking his 6th title in 7 years. Here comes the videotape with Keselowski starting on the front row, but going backward. Soon found himself racing Jimmy Johnson for 6th. No problem, given Brad's big point lead. Up front, Kyle Busch took the lead, again, dominated most of the day. The drama cranked up just past halfway. Jimmy Johnson takes 2 tires and the lead. Keselowski takes 4, restarts 16th. His point lead is down to 2. The tension peaked when Keselowski ran out of fuel with 61 to go, but then the 48 team stumbled with the missed lug nut and fell when the rear end burned up, ending Johnson's title hopes for good. After an insurance fuel stop, Keselowski cruised to a 15th place finish, just what he needed to clinch. He wins the title by 39 over Clint Bowyer. At the end, Busch was on the wrong end of fuel strategy, handed Jeff Gordon the lead, with who else but Clint Bowyer second. Those hoping for retaliation for the retaliation were disappointed. Bowyer a second back at the end. Gordon scores his 2nd win of the year and finishes 10th in the championship points. Take a look at the year-end numbers. 2nd place in the championship, changing hands in the last few laps. Casey Kane turns a wild card start into a 4th place finish in the points behind his teammate Jimmy Johnson. TK, for all the excellence we've seen from both the 2 and the 48 teams this year, the finale was not exactly a thing of beauty. Am I wrong?
No, you weren't. And it was one of those things where Jimmy needed something to happen to have a shot. It's what happened when Paul Wolfe made that call to not stop there and didn't get on the one-stop strategy. It was in their hands. But it's kind of like anything. The level these guys have ratcheted it up to, at some point, they're human. The guys on the crew, the guys on top of the box, and the guys behind the wheel. And you are asking guys to perform at a level that is just superhuman, but they're not. They're still human at the end of the day, and they're going to make little mistakes. And that's ultimately how it should be. That's why it matters, and that's why Brad Keselowski is a deserving champ.
So Adam, does the fact that it wasn't pretty for either team in any way change your opinion about the, that this is in fact the racing story of the year?
I don't think so. I think when you look at Brad Keselowski and the significance of any driver who is to go out and win their first championship, that makes it a big deal because we all know how tough the first one can be. But the other caveat in this is the fact that it's the first for Roger Penske. When you look at his resume and all the things he has accomplished in motorsports, and that list is long. NASCAR, IndyCar, he won a Formula One race, ALMS, he's done it all to get this championship. When you consider how close he's been other times, I still think it makes it an awfully big deal.
In the big picture, a third-year driver taking the title away from a team that's won 5 of the last 6, that's a huge upset. And the notion of Keselowski, the underdog, fulfills the kid's self-perception. Okay, he had time to rehearse it, but I was impressed with the post-race speech about the Ray Lewis video. I'm not big enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not fast enough. Brad talked about using that as motivation, closing with the punchline. This year I learned that that's all true. I'm not big enough, strong enough, or fast enough, but the team makes me big enough, strong enough, and fast enough. That's pretty good stuff. Beyond that, I think Brad gets a lot of criticism for being outspoken. I can't get enough of outspoken race drivers. I think the kid's a breath of fresh air. Hope he continues to speak his mind and challenge his rivals on and off the track. But Tommy, following on that theme, one of the inevitable questions that follows in the wake of a coronation, what kind of champion will Brad Keselowski be?
I mean, I think he's the perfect guy. He's authentic. He's real. Talk about talented. I mean, he's raised his game. Last year, he raised his game towards the end of the year. This year, it's only his 3rd full season, and to win the title, only 2 guys have done it that quickly before: Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Gordon. He's perfect for this generation. He's single, for God's sakes. We can actually get some storylines going there. I think he's a godsend. He's sponsored by a beer company, and it doesn't get any better than that.
Well, all in all, it's been a pretty exciting and dramatic day. A lot of unexpected things happening during the course of the day, and we're just getting started here. It's going to be a fun-filled hour, and we're glad you're here to be part of it. Here's a question you should perhaps consider. What do this guy, Dale Earnhardt, and this guy, Jeff Gordon, and that Keselowski kid have in common? Well, they're the only 3 drivers in NASCAR's modern era to win the title in their first 3 seasons. We'll talk to Brad shortly. Roger Penske. Did you know he was a NASCAR winning driver? After the commercial break, we'll be joined by the man who today ended a 23-year quest for the title. Spectacular track, sellout crowd, great race. Hard to imagine how the debut of Formula One in Austin could have been any better. Bob Varsha joins us shortly. And, of course, we will have for you the year-end edition of Eye Candy. It better be good. Take my word for it, after all these years together. Would I lie to you? It's going to be good. We'll be right back. Wind Tunnel, wrapping up the season.
From fire suits to tuxedos, the stars of NASCAR hit the red carpet to celebrate an incredible season of racing. The 2012 NASCAR Sprint Cup Awards, hosted by Howie Mandel, November 30th at 8 Eastern, only on Speed.
You're watching Speed, the Motorsports Authority.
Welcome back. Everybody knows Roger Penske, team owner and businessman. Did you know he was also a winning NASCAR driver? That's right, an accomplished road racer. Penske in 1963 won the NASCAR Pacific Coast Series race at Riverside in California. A decade later, Roger back as a NASCAR car owner, fielding the AMC colors part-time. Mark Donohue scored that team's first win, also Riverside, 1973. In '76, Penske did his first full-time Cup season, driver Bobby Allison ranking 4th in the championship. Roger returned to Cup competition in '91, basically fielding the team with which Rusty Wallace had won the championship 2 years earlier. Rusty was runner-up to Dale Earnhardt in the '93 title chase, the team's best effort until this year. Fast forward, '09, Penske hires Brad Keselowski. In '10, BK earned the captain's first NASCAR title, the NASCAR Nationwide crown. Last year, BK establishing himself as a Sprint Cup contender, 5th in points. And this year, 5 victories. He outdueled Jimmy Johnson for the championship and finally gave Roger Penske that championship he's been at least thinking about now for about 40 years. Tonight, it's our pleasure to congratulate Roger on his long-awaited accomplishment. He joins us live from Homestead, Miami Speedway. Roger, welcome back. How does it feel after all these years of waiting to finally have that Cup?
Well, Dave, it's a real honor to be here and obviously to wear this hat, winning the championship I feel like I've joined an elite group when you think about Hendricks and Childress and Roush and Gibbs, just to mention a few. Just a wonderful thing for our team, and obviously with Brad, the commitment he's given to us and winning the championship nationwide a couple of years ago, and he and Paul Wolf. But, it's a credit to our whole organization. I've said it earlier tonight that it's not about how much money you put in your team. It's about the human capital and the people that continue to deliver for us. And, I had a goal. We all had goals, and I think we do in life. And this one really came together tonight. Jimmy Johnson and these guys, they never stopped. And we were lucky here in a couple situations. They had problems, but at the end of the day, we did what we had to do. We won this championship. So I'm personally thrilled.
Well, Roger, it's Adam, and I know Brad Keselowski going to be played out as the guy that got you your first Sprint Cup Series championship. But I want to turn that equation upside down, and I'm curious, what kind of advice did you have for Brad going into this weekend?
Well, I think, Adam, I probably replayed this race over the last 4 or 5 days. I don't know how many different times when I saw that 48 bounce off the wall in Phoenix. And, basically I said, let's stay on our game plan. I think the qualifying that he did, on Friday really set the stage for us. He ran tonight a conservative race. We weren't as fast maybe as we wanted to be, but I said just play the same game. Do what you're good at, and that's being cool and thinking, and I think he never put a wheel wrong. He raced wheel to wheel with Jimmy. It was a thrill to me to see those guys swapping back and forth, but at the end of the day, it was just cool, calm Brad Keselowski, and he brought us that championship.
Hey, Roger, Tommy here. First off, congratulations. There aren't too many firsts left for you to accomplish. You're looking like a pretty smart guy for putting Brad in that, too. But since the start of his career, he's been criticized for how aggressive he is. And we saw that kind of come out in his media center tirade last week, based on how he finished the race against Jimmy. I'm guessing you had a smile on your face when he was going at it with him. Do you think the criticism is justified somewhat before, now? And how do you help him deal with that?
Well, let me say this. He's got a lot of respect in this garage area, from the drivers, the crew chiefs, and obviously the officials. So anything about his aggressiveness, I think, is a thing of the past. And quite honestly, all these young drivers, whether it was Stewart or Gordon or someone else, had those rough patches. But to me, he's a winner. He was a winner when he joined our team. And I think last Saturday, or when he had that interview, I think no one realized he took a big hit coming off of 4, and I think that his head was banged, and I think he just said, man, this is not what I like to see, and probably let loose. But I think he apologized to his fans and to the sport on Monday, and certainly as far as I'm concerned, I want a guy that you got to grab his belt. You don't have to kick him, and I think that he's certainly proved that he's the champion today, and will be a great champion going into 2013.
You're not going to have to worry about speeding that guy up. Roger, we've heard for so long that the one vacancy in the trophy case was the Cup. Now that you've got that, what's left? Is there anything left in racing that you've not accomplished that you would really like to do?
Well, I guess I'd like to go to Le Mans and win the 24-hour race. We've won the Sebring race, we've won Daytona, we've had some great wins, and that would be maybe something that's up there that I'd like to do. But right now, I'm just going to think about what happened this weekend, Dave, and we're going to enjoy it. And on the other hand, these guys already given me a list. He and Paul have given me a list of what we need to do to get better for next year. So looking forward to go to Ford. I want to thank all my friends at Dodge. They did a terrific job. They doubled the effort for us over the last 12 months. And believe me, they weren't any lame duck. These guys, they wanted to win, and I'm glad we could bring that victory home to them in Detroit.
And we'll be hearing from Ralph Gilles a little later in the show. Roger, again, congratulations. Celebration's been a long time coming. Enjoy it, and thanks for your time tonight.
All right, thank you, guys. My pleasure.
Let's talk briefly about the championship-winning crew chief, Paul Wolf, following in the footsteps of Ray Evernham and Greg Zipadelli. Penske Racing's man came down from the Northeast and now reigns as the Sprint Cup Championship crew chief. He started life as a driver, came through the Busch North Series and made it as far as the seat of Evernham Motorsports Dodge in the Nationwide Series. But when his driving career stalled, he became a Nationwide Series crew chief who in 2009 turned down an invitation from one Brad Keselowski to become his crew chief. Well, a few months later, without Brad's knowing about it, Penske hired Wolf, teamed him with BK. They went on to win the 2010 Nationwide Championship. That earned Wolf a promotion. In 2011, he moved up to Keselowski's Cup car. They caught fire in midsummer, won 3 races, and made the chase. And so after a dizzying and dazzling 2012 season, in only his second year on the top of the Sprint Cup box, Paul Wolf reigns as championship-winning crew chief. Our Larry McReynolds offered this assessment.
Here are 3 things that I think makes Paul Wolf so good. A, he drove a race car. I think he can truly relate to things that Brad Keselowski's telling him about that race car. The other thing, he and Brad Keselowski click. They're on the same song page. I think he actually leans on Brad a little bit sometimes when it comes to pit calls. But the third thing is, and I love this about him, he's not afraid to step out of the box as far as strategy. We've seen that many times throughout the 2 years he's been with Brad Keselowski.
Thank you, Larry Mack. Great work by the whole team this week down in Homestead. Still to come tonight, the newly crowned champion is joining us live. Brad Keselowski to talk about claiming today's big prize. I wonder how many Miller Lights he's had by now. Up next, Formula One makes its return to the U.S. Bob Varsha breaks down the debut of the Circuit of Americas and the fight for the World Championship. Mario!
If I had a nickel.
If I had a nickel?
If I had a nickel for every weird thing I ever autographed.
For every time I listened to rap music with my morning coffee. For every time I walked into the wrong holler.
Man, if I had a nickel.
For every time somebody asked me what Vegemite was.
If I had a nickel.
For every time someone asked me if Greg was my dad.
Oh.
For every time I forgot where I parked the car.
For every time I tried to fit in Kurt Busch's fire suit.
Oops.
If you had a Sunoco Rewards credit card, you'd get a nickel for every gallon you pump. Go Sunoco.
Altogether pleasant surprise, a state-of-the-art Formula One circuit in Austin, Texas. Sure enough, first race scheduled fall 2012. Well, that date was in question from the get-go. Early construction, start and stop affair, and that was in part a reflection of the ill will among the track principals, which eventually led to lawsuits and the ultimate ouster of Tavo Hellman. He's the guy who originally secured the date from Bernie Ecclestone. See you, Tavo. But all the doubters were silenced this weekend as Austin welcomed the Formula One world with open arms, and America's newest road race circuit was filled to capacity for the return of F1 to America. First race on these shores since '07.
And now we are happy to welcome into Wind Tunnel Bob Varsha, who called the action this morning, or this afternoon, I guess I should say. So used to having Formula One races in the AM.
Absolutely.
A great event, and we'll talk about the race on track in a moment. But first, big picture. What do you think of Circuit of the Americas and the show they put on?
I think it was absolutely fabulous, Adam. You consider this was a racetrack built by a bunch of guys who'd never built a racetrack before. Their first event is the round of the Formula One World Championship. They'd never promoted a single race before, and it all came together. My son Matthew and some of his buddies were at the race. They had nothing but good things to say about the track, about downtown Austin. They sold tickets in all 50 states and 40 foreign countries. I think that as a ticket base they can go back to year after year, and it bodes well.
All indications are that the Formula One community, in addition to simply stocking up on cowboy boots, fully enjoy the visit to the Lone Star State. Twitter provides the evidence. Caterham F1 tweeting the sign. SoCo refers to the fun to be had along South Congress Avenue, for those of you who know the town. The Lotus F1 team theorizes George Lucas is considering Kimi Räikkönen to be the next X-Wing pilot. Here's a bit more evidence of Austin having rolled out the red carpet. Fernando Alonso's good morning view of the world. And finally, Alexander Rossi pops in at Wild Bubba's to meet, among others, a guy named Buddy, who claims to have helped build the racetrack. And with that, we move on to the race. And the fact that the start was even more crucial than normal this morning because the inside lane was so slick.
Right.
Talk about that strategy change.
This is the kind of thing Tommy Kendall would love. In Formula One, gearboxes have to last 5 race weekends, so they put a little seal on there to make sure that nobody tampers with it. Well, when the Ferraris lined up on the dirty side of the track, 6th and 8th, some bright spark of Ferrari said, you know what, if we break the seal on Massa's gearbox, he's going to go back 5 grid spots. Everybody behind him is going to move forward. That'll put Fernando Alonso up from 8th on the dirty line to 7th on the clean line. That's what they did. It's kind of like in golf, calling a penalty on yourself. It must have been hilarious with the inspectors, but it got Alonso where he needed to be. That's right, it worked. Watch this start. Fernando Alonso launches forward, passing guys. There goes Räikkönen on the left. There goes one of the Mercedes from 7th to 4th on the run up the hill to turn 1. Almost got past Lewis Hamilton as well. Here it is from the outside. Good start for the two Red Bulls. Vettel followed by Webber, then Hamilton, and there's the red Ferrari of Fernando Alonso. Great start.
And there you see Hamilton falling into the second position, and that's where he would stay for a good while until late in the race. We'll show you that in a moment. First, though, reliability issues for Team Red Bull. We've seen the electrical problems pop up a few times throughout the year, and, well, we saw it again today.
Yeah, well, twice this year, electrical problems, specifically the alternator. The alternator goes duff, the voltage goes down. That messes up everything on a Formula One car. It happened to Vettel in Valencia at the European Grand Prix. It happened to him at Monza. It's happened to Mark Webber, and it happened again to Webber this weekend.
And is that peak concern now as we go to the season finale? Vettel appears to have the championship in hand. The last thing you want to see is an issue like this.
That's right. There's Hamilton going off. Webber gets back into second spot. But he said already at this point, the team was telling him, be careful how you use the curve, be careful about your voltage levels, do what you can to try to keep the car running. Hamilton passed back, but about 12 laps later, it all was for naught for Webber. He pulled off the side of the road, out of the race.
And there's Alonso inheriting third. For Team McLaren, the word of the day, I guess, was forward.
Absolutely. I mean, for Lewis Hamilton, who is leaving this team at the end of the year, the McLaren team obviously wants to get another victory with him before the year is out. He has been so quick everywhere. He's fallen out of the race lead at a couple of locations, including Korea most recently. So he's had a very tough time. But boy, it certainly worked for him today. And he was just unstoppable. Here he is moving forward and battling with Vettel. Got close, but then he had to drop back. We thought maybe Vettel was playing with him and forcing Hamilton to run his tires off the car. Vettel made his pit stop on lap 22, got a good one. This was Michael Schumacher saying hello to Jenson Button in the other McLaren. I'm surprised the stewards didn't act on that when you drive somebody over into the pit lane like that. And a little bit later on, there's Button banging wheels with Bruno Senna. We saw this kind of wheel-to-wheel action all day long, all the way through the pack. Lap 24, Button passes Alonso, who had a slow pit stop. It was ironic that this was a weekend where it was impossible to use up your tires. We saw no degradation, but what we did see was that tires were so slow to come up to temperature that having fresh tires was not much of an advantage. There's onboard Kimi Räikkönen as he battles with Button for fifth. And as you can see,
not bad for Button.
Yeah, really close. And really great racing.
Before we go to the finish, remind us of the symmetry involved when you talk about a fight for the lead between guys like Hamilton and Vettel.
Yeah, it's terrific. Back in 2007, last Formula One race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, in his first season, Lewis Hamilton won the race for McLaren. Back in 8th place was a 19-year-old German named Sebastian Vettel, who was in for the injured Robert Kubica, who had a big crash the week before in Canada. He scores points. First teenager to score World Championship points. Then he went back to work with the Red Bull team. And now here he is, the next Formula One Grand Prix, this one at another track, and he's battling with the defending US Grand Prix champion in Lewis Hamilton. Now, Hamilton got close time after time, as we said. Here he is. He finally got close enough when Vettel says he was balked by one of the HRTs, Narain Karthikeyan. And when the DRS opened up, this time Hamilton had him dead to rights. Another close pass in terms of wheel-to-wheel. Alonso makes a late stop. Massa made a late stop. Massa came forward and finished fourth. Ferrari actually got a big haul of points in this race, which was good for them. They couldn't prevent Red Bull from clinching the championship. But it was a great run for both Alonso, who made the podium, and Massa, who finished fourth. Checkered flag, Lewis Hamilton, 2 starts at the US Grand Prix, 2 different locations, won them both. Ayrton Senna was the only other man who did that.
And so a 4th place finish next week will clinch it all for Sebastian Vettel in Brazil. Bob, we'll look forward to your final telecast of the year, wrap up the season. I'm rushing along here because I have word that there's some guy who wants to butt in on the conversation, some Sprint Cup champion or something like that. So we wish you good luck with next week. We'll all be watching.
Thanks very much.
All right,
thanks,
that's Bob Varsha. Being told that we're going to be talking to Brad Keselowski immediately, like right now. BK, are you there? Congratulations, my friend.
I'm here.
You are the
Where you at, bud?
I'm right here having a good time hanging out and thinking about how happy
You're not having as good a time as I am, Dave.
No question about that.
I'm on my phone, and I was checking some Twitter.
Yeah.
And I've had a couple beers.
We heard.
And life has been good.
Hey, listen, your uncle was racing Winston Cup before you were born. Your dad raced in the Craftsman Truck Series.
Hey, wait. Whoa, Dave.
Have we lost
you? It wasn't Sprint Cup back then. It was Grand National. Remember, I'm just throwing that out there.
Okay. All right. I'll buy that. Your dad was in the Truck Series. And about that time, you made a move from being a crew member to a driver in a quarter midget. When you started racing, was NASCAR your goal, or what did you want to be when you grew up?
You know what, Dave? I'm going to be straight with you right here, man. I felt like if I could be a driver in the Truck Series that was able to make a living and win a race, that was as far as my vision extended. So I wanted to be in Cup. I always wanted to be in Cup and be a driver that could win a race, win a championship. But that was so far from my vision that I never even looked at that. And the opportunities I had as I was growing up in the Truck Series were so poor, literally and figuratively, that it wasn't meant to be. And it ended up where my dream got bigger than what maybe I was looking for. And I'm very, very blessed that that's the way it turned out. Because I started to get opportunities in the Nationwide Series and then the Cup Series, and it's kind of took care of itself from there.
Hey, Brad, it's Adam Alexander. I'm wondering, do you have a clear memory of the stage in life when you said, someday I want to be the Sprint Cup Series champion?
Yeah, I think I was maybe 1 month old.
Born to drive.
Born to drive. I mean, it's the pinnacle. I mean, it's Cup, man. It's the best of the best. And I know F1's pretty good, and I heard you all talking about F1, but it ain't the same. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. And I'm sure there's some F1 fan that's madder than hell at me right now, but this sport right now, it gets no tougher than it is to win a Cup race right here, right now.
Now, this might be the best interview ever. It's fair that a guy who's been shooting, that broke up the charge, a guy shooting for a six-pack, has had a 12-pack before he came on the air. But that's why we love Brad Keselowski. By the way, this is Tommy Kendall calling.
Is this Tommy Kendall? Okay, I didn't know who this was.
Yeah, you were wondering who the hell that was. This is Tommy Kendall. Talk about the race today. At one point there, when you guys missed the chance to get on that one stop till the end, you were in a pretty big box that was going to be hard to get out of. Yet, when you came in to get gassed up, you sounded cool as a cucumber on the radio. What were you really feeling, and how did you keep it together?
My guys said we were going to be fine, Tommy. And I'm in a sport that requires a team. And part of being in a team is respecting and trusting those around you. And if they say we're going to be fine, I have to trust them and I have to respect them.
You're a pretty outspoken guy, BK. You live in a world where the politically correct sometimes gets a little tiresome. Now that you are more than a Sprint Cup driver, you are the Sprint Cup champion with a certain role now as a representative or maybe spokesman for the sport. Should we be at all worried that your outspokenness is going to suffer as a result of that?
No, man. Outspoken is great. We all need somebody to keep us honest. I need somebody to keep me honest. This sport, motor racing, not just NASCAR, the sport of motor racing needs somebody to keep it honest. And you know what? If that's the lone contribution I can give to this sport, so be it. Because that's how much I care for this sport, and I want to see it be successful.
I have one last question. I think there's a possibility you could set a record in this regard. How do you plan to celebrate?
We're about to find out. Stay tuned. That's all I can say. There's a cabana up here waiting for me with a bunch of beer. I know I'll be there. And I hope my crew guys will too, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And I can't wait to sober up from that and be in the Speed Studio tomorrow. I think I'm on one of your guys' shows, so that should be fun too.
He will be on Race Hub tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen, completing his first full day as the Sprint Cup champion. Brad Keselowski, congratulations. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks, Tommy. Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it, guys.
You got it.
Take a commercial break on that note and then come back on the other side and sort out where we go from here. It'll be fun.
Hey, in honor of Brad.
NASCAR Camping World Truck Series wild finish Friday night in the championship showdown. James Buescher came in here with an 11-point lead in the 31 truck, but title rival Ty Dillon was contending for the championship when he tangled here with Kyle Larson, ending the night for both and also for Blaney, who went head-on into the wall. All right, Dylan, that was just 1 point out of the lead at the time of this contact. The ensuing green-white checker pitted Kyle Busch against Cale Gale, and Gale ran him into the wall and held him there and slowed him down enough that Gale got his first win. Buescher, with a 13th place finish, secured the championship. One thing NASCAR is very good at is making the driver the centerpiece of the sport. Who's your driver? That's what NASCAR fans ask each other. As a result, fans don't go to a race to see who wins. They go to see their driver win. Or in the case of Kyle Busch, to see the driver they hate get beat. Here's a sample of the results of the finish, of the responses to that finish. That move by Gale was a lick on the dirty side. That said, Kyle's done worse with less on the line. If Kyle doesn't like the taste of his own brand, too bad. That's from Eric Miller. And if Kyle Busch had done it, they would crucify him. NASCAR double standard, according to Bobby K. Parrott. Tommy Kendall, to what extent do you think the audience view of that finish was skewed by the fact that Kyle Busch was the one on the losing end of it?
Well, I think completely, and rightly so. I mean, what would it be like at the end of a Bond movie if the villain was a guy that really is a pretty nice guy that's made a few bad decisions and is really a pretty nice guy? You need a villain. I mean, that was like Days of Thunder. Rowdy getting squeezed against the wall is a pretty nifty move when you think about it, because he wasn't far enough along to spin himself out. He killed all of Kyle's momentum. I mean, that's what this deal's built on, and it's only going to ratchet up from here because the stakes get higher. We've seen it with retaliation and so forth. There's not much you can do about it, and I'm glad that at the end of the day, it's a bare-knuckle sport.
Real quick, Adam, the flip side of that is the Cale Gale story. Okay, it was a pretty cheap shot, but, I mean, you know.
Yeah, but Gale doesn't have a ride next year, and he's saying to himself off of turn 4, I may never be in this position again. Give me that checkered flag, and he went and got it. I think it's pretty cool.
On that note, we're going to take a break and come back with the final word on Jeff Gordon's penalty from last week's race. There's been rough driving all over the NASCAR world. Stay tuned. This is the 2012 finale of Wind Tunnel, and we'll be right back.
Speed brings you the first ever online racing network, where viewers can stream live and archived events, original programming, and the ultimate collection of premier international racing series. Speed2.com.
From fire suits to tuxedos, the stars of NASCAR hit the red carpet to celebrate an incredible season of racing. The 2012 NASCAR Sprint Cup Awards, hosted by Howie Mandel, November 30th at 8 Eastern, only on Speed.
With a week left in the Super 7 Sweep Fantasy Racing game, Fearless 15 leads the month of November standings, having built up a nice lead over Easy Operator. If Fearless 15 can hold on to that lead following the Formula One finale in Brazil, we'll get the November championship and this rare Michael Schumacher print from our friends at Toronto Motorsports. Quick reminder to you tunnel heads out there, you can buy a Wind Tunnel diecast commemorating our 10th season at the store at speed.com. Wherever else are you going to get something that cool with mud plugs? Nowhere. In his final State of the Sport speech this week, NASCAR CEO Brian France reiterated that NASCAR considers stock car racing a contact sport, adding, and I quote, "But I always say that there are limits and drivers know where the limits are. If they have any confusion about that, they can talk to us or look at our calls and how we've dealt with it." Unquote. Those comments came in the wake of the penalty imposed on Jeff Gordon for his retaliation against Clint Boyer at Phoenix last weekend. Coincidence is a wonderful thing. Gordon and Boyer came back this weekend to run 1-2. But because NASCAR's definition of, quote, the line regarding on-track contact has never been quite as clear in my mind as it is in Brian's, I took his advice to heart and reviewed the recent calls regarding driver retaliation. We can now conclude that the worst thing you can do is intentionally wreck a legitimate contender for NASCAR's third-tier championship under yellow, as Kyle Busch did at Texas last year. That's a one-race suspension from Nationwide and Cup. It is much less serious to wreck a long-shot title contender for the Sprint Cup, 2 innocent bystanders, and very nearly take out the series leader. That's $100,000 and 25 points, and shame on any of you who speculate that NASCAR actually loved every minute of this because it obscured the fact that Jimmy Johnson's blown right front tire had just taken most of the juice out of the title fight. Back to the point. Penalties for driver playback. Pretty much a non-event if you send a guy upside down into the catch fence on the front straightaway at NASCAR's fastest track. That little bit of retaliation back in 2010 got Carl Edwards 3 weeks on probation. So in retrospect, I think Kyle Petty summed it up pretty well here last week. Analyzing the logic behind NASCAR driver penalties is a lot like playing poker with a crazy man. We need to take a commercial break. We promised you Ralph Gilles. That's going to be coming up here shortly. I want to head for the break with this very quickly. Do we have the picture or the video, I hope? It's a congratulations for Gus Vildasola Sr. and his son Tavo, who this week won the 45th annual Baja 1000. Gus has been doing this 44 years. He's now won the sport's biggest race 2 of the last 3 years.
City in Mississippi.
I just wanted to know if think you're ready to go Sprint Cup racing.
I feel like I could go to the Sprint Cup level and probably run anywhere from 15th to 30th, but that's not what I want to do. You know, I want to go in there and run with Jimmy.
Keselowski wins the Food City 500. Keselowski for the second time will go to victory lane in Talladega.
Wow. His third win of the year coming at Kentucky. 4th win of the season, Chicagoland to Brad Keselowski. Another win in 2012, and the checkered flag at a NASCAR Sprint Cup Championship for Penske Racing and Michigan's Brad Keselowski.
We did it. Great job.
When I anchored the NASCAR Truck Series in its first year back in 1995, Bob Keselowski was driving and Brad Keselowski was working on the truck. Let's hear Dad's reaction to his son's championship this afternoon.
Bob, your son is a Sprint Cup champion.
I think I'm starting to realize that now. I hope I'm not going to wake up, doggone it. I mean, wow, this is fantastic. You know, being a champion in ARCA is a big deal, but this is, you know, probably 5 times even bigger. And wow, I mean, you're a national hero in this level.
Reactions continuing to pour in. It's notable Brad is the first Dodge driver since the King in 1975 to win the championship. He did it, ironically, the year Dodge announces it's leaving. Here's the reaction from the head of Dodge Racing, Ralph Gilles.
A couple of years back, I remember sitting in North Carolina talking to the media about, here we got 2 cars and we're going to take on the world, and they looked at us like we were crazy, you know. But we knew we had that gumption, and that you know, the Dodge story has always been that. It's always been the underdog, and it's kind of that fire in our belly. You know, we never give up, and we still, to this day, to today, we just worked every bit we could. We hadn't had one single engine failure all year, and I'm very proud of that.
Congratulations, Ralph, and all the Dodge folks. Tommy Kendall, quick final thought on the Cup portion of this weekend's activity.
Well, I mean, it is a great Detroit story. Roger Penske's from Detroit, Keselowski's from Michigan, and Dodge. It's a great way to end that relationship. But, I mean, the arrival of a new superstar. I mean, Brad Keselowski reminds me a lot of Dale Earnhardt, but with an outgoing personality. I mean, he's just tough as nails. You forget Jimmy Johnson has raised the bar much like a Tiger Woods, and so to have him be at the top of his game and stare him down and not blink, Brad Keselowski's got a lot to be proud of. I think you know, he's the new superstar, the next superstar, I should say. And I can't wait to see what transpires next year.
Since you were the first one talking about Sprint Cup on this network this morning, I'll give you the last word, but I'll only give you 20 seconds.
And I would say let's not forget about Clint Boyer, Martin Truex Jr., and Michael Waltrip Racing. What a resurgence. They finished runner-up in the championship, and I think they have laid a very strong foundation for the future, 2013 and beyond.
And with that, we need a commercial break. We'll be back on the other side. We're wrapping up the 2012 season. Here on Wind Tunnel, we're glad you're part of it. There is the championship celebration. Brad Keselowski and his crew chief.
The Speed Holiday Marathon. Every weekend, Thanksgiving to New Year's Day, we're dishing out back-to-back episodes of your favorite shows. To satisfy your craving for horsepower.
This is the car I can see me driving.
And cool chrome. Let the good times roll. With the Speed Holiday Marathon, beginning Thanksgiving Day with dumbest stuff on wheels.
Gearheads unite. Speed's Monday night lineup was built just for you.
Quad and bottom hot rodding, arm out the window.
Learn the tricks of the trade, from restoration, customization, to innovation.
That is how they relate to you.
Get in touch with your masculine side, with the network that shares your passion for getting it done.
Turn up the juice, see what shakes loose.
It all starts at 8 Eastern, only on Speed.
If I had a nickel.
If I had a nickel.
If I had a nickel for every time.
For every time someone made those air quotes.
For every time I forgot what city I'm in.
I don't like those air quotes.
If I had a nickel for every time my agent put me on hold. If I had a nickel.
If I had a nickel for every fan that asked what happens when nature calls. Nature calls during a race.
For every time I hog the mic during karaoke.
For every time somebody asked if I was hot in my fire suit.
Hang on, which one's a nickel?
If you had a Sunoco Rewards credit card, you'd get a nickel for every gallon you pump. Go Sunoco.
Nationwide Series. After crashing twice last weekend at Phoenix, Elliott Sadler went into yesterday's finale facing a big point deficit, and a missed lug nut on this pit stop did not help. Still, Elliott had the two-car near the front of the field in the late laps as number 6 Ricky Stenhouse Jr. refused to stroke around and secure the championship right up against the wall. That move elevated crew chief Mike Kelly's heart rate substantially, but Stenhouse kept the wheels under him. Regan Smith scoring the season-ending victory for car owner Dale Earnhardt Jr. Stenhouse finished 6th and locked up his second championship in a row, the 6th driver ever to win back-to-back nationwide crowns. What strikes me about the Nationwide Series is how exciting it might be next year.
I think this is a series that in recent years has struggled to find an identity with all the Cup regulars coming down and running. But I agree with you. There are some big names that will be competing for the championship in 2013. Among them, Brian Vickers, who has already won a championship and is coming back. What about Regan Smith? Hasn't been in the series in 5 years, comes back and wins last night. Austin Dillon, who had a great rookie campaign, competed for the title. Elliott Sadler, who's changing teams, but you know he's hungry after being a running up in the championship. And there you see Sam Hornish Jr., who's gotten so good in 2013, 2012, and there you see Brian Vickers. And, of course, Trevor Bayne coming back. This kid's enjoyed great success at the Sprint Cup level. It'll be fun to watch him in the NNS.
I'll go to my grave insisting it was their fault, not your fault, that Vickers was out of order. Hey, man, we appreciate it. I want to get this in. Tommy Kendall, real quick. The best racing story of 2012 in your mind, other than you getting in the Viper and going racing again?
Well, the best story, I would have to say, is Brad Keselowski doing it. My favorite moment would be, today is important. The IndyCar finale was a nail-biter, but there's no more drama than the biggest race in the world, and this year's Indy 500 was one for the ages. It was a great race throughout, and that finish with Sato and Dario Franchitti going at it. Dario giving him just enough squeeze, but then getting off him so he didn't get taken out in the wreck for his third win. That was as good as it gets for me.
Tommy Kendall, we appreciate your contributions to the show throughout the year. It's been great having you with us here this evening. Ditto, Adam. Take the rest of the day off. You've done a great job. We're going to head for break. Let me introduce you to the newest tunnel head as we do so. Senior Associate Producer Jackson Gardner, his wife Sari, and their eldest daughter Kylie, welcoming Chloe Catherine Gardner to the family this week. Congratulations to all. We will be right back with year-end eye candy.
Yeah, what it do, world? Shred, rubber tongue, yeah.
Don't give up,
Miss Coco Jones, yeah. Just live your life, man. Yeah. Let's go, come on.
It's your life. There's so much out there for you. Live your life. Don't ever give up. This flow is out there for you.
Forget what your friends think. You a boss of your destiny. Play to win, beat the enemy that way. When it need it back, pray about it, stay positive. Be at ease, relax. Hey, there's a lot to live for. Just to be breathing, that's enough motivation for you to get more. Explore all possibilities. Get inside your mind. Look and see what all you can really be. We at the end of the road. Just cause you down don't mean you out. Never giving, I was told. Seeking, you should find out how to reach for the sky. To each his own. We all want a piece of the pie. On the rise now, y'all. Trying to keep hope alive. Rest in peace, all those who died. Stay on the grind, folks.
It's your life. There's so much out there for you. Live your life. This flow is out there for you.
Life is a gamble. Win, lose, or draw. See, your life is in your hands, bro, it's grim when you stall. So pipe, take a stand, there's a gym and it's all taking flight. I ain't playing, that's why I grin when I talk. I'm excited about my plans, see, I've been through the fog. I've been where it's dim, y'all, I've been through it all. Never give in, keep on pushing, there's a better day ahead. Just keep on looking straight, I said, to the end. Go hard, stay strong, don't slip. But if you do fall, get up, keep going, don't trip. Things happen for a reason. What don't kill you will only make you stronger. Find your passion while you're breathing. I practice what I'm preaching, by the catching what I'm speaking. Yes, I'm rapping, but I'm teaching. You a captain, keep believing.
I will be finishing my career at the end of this season in MotoGP. I've decided to retire. It's good to say goodbye.
Don't give in, no.
Hi, Candy, wrapping up Wind Tunnel's 10th season here on Speed. I confess I wasn't confident we'd make it to show 2. We've actually managed a total of 570 episodes in the interim, for which we owe a debt of gratitude, first and foremost, to all of you who watched. The day you stopped doing that, I got to go get a job. I'm also deeply appreciative to the multitude of racing stars and personalities who have been our guests over the years, to all the speed announcers who have shared this desk and added their analysis and thoughts and opinions to the Wind Tunnel body of racing knowledge. I'm a lucky guy to have a powerful support system like this. Thanks to all of you. Have a great off season, and we will come back next year and see you right here on Speed. Congratulations, Brad Keselowski, and so long, everybody.